Hey, what's up? So a lot of people messaged me that they really enjoy my tutorials, so I've got something new for you. This time we're gonna create this colorful gradient effect inside of Cinema 4D and Photoshop. If you like what I do, you can check out my Instagram at Justin's Posters. Here you can see some artworks I did in the last few weeks. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Let's go. So first, we're going to create the basic setup for this effect. Let's pick a landscape and let's tick spherical. And now we're going to make this a little smoother. So let's turn down the fine furrows to about 10% and turn down the scale to, let's take 0.5. Let's add a camera. Just take the basic camera and change the focal length to 80mm portrait mode and just get this sphere into your frame. I'm gonna change the document width and height just to get a rectangle or a rectangular file in the end. And that's pretty much it for our landscape. We're gonna fine tune it later, but let's first add the material. So double click on your created material, uncheck color, uncheck reflectance, and let's add transparency. We can choose any preset we want. I'm going to pick emerald. You can change the refraction right here. So you can pick a custom value that you like. Yeah, but I'm gonna stick with emerald. Let's watch what happens when we add our texture. That's coming up next. We're gonna change to Photoshop and create the color gradient texture we're gonna use to reflect on our landscape. So I've got my basic document set up right here. I'm gonna create a new layer and let's just add the colors we want to use in our project. I'm basically just picking some colors I like through the brush tool, and I've got my hardness all the way down to 0, and I'm just gonna play around with colors I like. You can really take your time with this or just do it quick and dirty, doesn't matter. I just love how different the results are every time you do this. So now that I've got my color set up, I'm going to go to filter, blur, and add a Gaussian blur to just mix in the colors. The radius of 200 pixels, somewhere around that should be fine. And now let's duplicate this. Press Ctrl J to duplicate your layer. And let's liquefy this. And again, just as in my other videos, we're just going to have fun with the liquefy tool. There's no right or wrong. There's no rules when liquefying something. Just have fun with it. And yeah, that's basically what I'm going to do right now. We're now going to use the twirl clockwise tool to kind of mix in the colors a bit more. And now if you're happy with what you've got, you can just press OK. And now we've got our basic colors. We can change the background color to something that matches our color gradient we have right here. I think I'm just gonna pick a dark blue. Yeah, I like that. Dark blue mostly works for these kind of gradients. You're pretty much on the safe side if you're picking some kind of dark blue or dark purple. Now let's duplicate this again and transform it to match our canvas a little better. Now that we've got this, we can export it, and I'll see you back in Cinema 4D when we're going to add this to our material. Now back in Cinema 4D, let's create an HDRI. So let's create a sphere and drag it until your camera is inside the sphere. Let's rename this to HDRI. And now we're going to create a new texture for our HDRI where we are adding our color gradient we created in Photoshop. Let's uncheck reflectance, let's uncheck color, check luminance, and now load your texture. I've got it set up right here. Let's go over to illumination and check GI area light. This is just gonna help with some reflectance issues or illumination issues you can encounter. Let's close this. Now let's change in our render settings the renderer to physical, because glass reflections look way better with the physical renderer than the standard renderer. Close this. And now I'm gonna use this camera right over here and just create a live renderer window. Click and drag the glassy texture onto your landscape. And now click and drag your color gradient onto the HDRI. Now you're already seeing we're getting some pretty intense colorful reflections. Let's hide the HDRI from our background. So go over to Cinema 4D tags, compositing, and uncheck scene by camera. Now we can focus entirely on our landscape object. Let's fine tune this. Maybe let's turn down the scale. Maybe turn down the fine furrows, add some rough furrows. You're just gonna have to play around with that. I'm gonna change the seed. This looks pretty good. You can also rotate the HDRI in the background if you're not happy with the colors you're seeing. I already like this a lot, but let's test something. We're going to click on our material and change the projection mode. Let's change it to frontal. Now we can see every color we've added into our gradient. But I think this is a little overkill. It pretty much depends on what you've created in Photoshop. This could work for you. This could look really good when using the right amount of colors and the right composition of colors. But I think this is too much, so I'm going to undo that. Yeah, I'm happy with what we've got right here. Just gonna set up the final camera position, and then we're gonna export it and fine tune it in Photoshop. Now that we've imported this into Photoshop, we can go over to filter and add a camera raw filter. Now we're just gonna fine tune some basic lighting and color intensity and the overall saturation and contrast of things. If you're happy with what you've got, click OK. And now we're gonna focus on those areas that are kind of choppy, and yeah, I basically don't like this area a lot. So I think I'm going to liquefy this and just push it out so that we don't have a giant black hole right in our color gradient right over here. So I'm gonna do that. I think I also need to work on this area right here, but this should be a pretty fast fix. This side I like pretty much. I think I'm just gonna liquefy it a little bit to get more of a circle shape. I'll see you when I'm done. This is the final result. I've liquefied it. I've repaired some areas I didn't really like. I've changed the cyan color on the right to a vibrant pink because I think this matches the entire composition way better. I hope you've created something very, very sick. If you followed this tutorial and you created an artwork because of this tutorial, please tag me on Instagram. This is my Instagram @JustinsPosters. Tag me, I want to see what you guys did. And yeah, have a nice day. Bye.